Welcome to the weekly Ain't class. We have big and
It's like old times.
and we are learning. We mentioned last week the concept of clothing being a person's honor. You hear?
Yeah. It's like how people wear armor, you
Right.
know.
So we have a verse. This is a verse in Isaiah. But before we get to the verse, what you said, 1 second. Okay. So there's a verse in Isaiah that says, "V'sachas kevodo yekad yekod kikod esh." Translated as tachas means under, also can be translated in place of kivodo, his honor. There's going to be kindling a flame, the burning of a fire. Okay, so this verse, under or instead of his honor, there's going to be a burning fire. Where is this verse mentioned in regards to what? Background story. I know you like stories. This is a background story that takes us back many, many years ago, in the time of the first temple. The king at that time, his name is Tzidkiyahu, Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu was a very righteous king, and he was so righteous that he was almost the Messiah. He was almost Mashiach.
There are lots of stories like that. There's like a
Not
handful of
so many,
stories, a
not
handful.
so many, a couple, but there's a few,
Yeah,
right?
there's always like a guy who came almost,
Right, but he chose on the caliber. He was a very high, very special person. His father was extremely wicked, and his son was extremely wicked. However, he was pure like anything. One of the most righteous kings that we ever had amongst the Jewish kings, the house of David. So when he was king, the mighty king Sancherib was the king of Asher. If David's not here today to tell me the English name, Sanherib maybe, I don't know how to say it. And Sancherib surrounded Jerusalem.
David, he's he's looking for some friends.
Right.
No, I'm serious. He was speaking to me sometime last week, and I think he's just like hard up for friends, you know.
It's true.
He needs people more his own age, because
Awesome.
compared to him, it must be like an immature kid.
So, anyways, so Sancherib lays siege to the city of Jerusalem, and the city is fortified. However, it's scary. You have this mighty empire of Sancherib had already conquered most of the world, and they had already conquered the lands of Samaria, which is the
Bordering.
northern of Israel, and he already had sent 10 tribes of the Jewish people into exile. Till today, we don't know where they are. So this was a real threat, and he was threatened by this, and he was afraid. The prophet comes to him and tells him, "Don't be afraid. Let's pray, and Hashem will take care of it." So they pray, Chizkiyahu and the prophet Isaiah, and that night, which was the first night of Pesach, it's called Leil Shimurim, the night that God watches us, the night of the watch. And an angel came and smote down, or smite down, how do you say, smote, killed 185,000 people in one night. Tremendous amount of dead people. And there's different opinions about how exactly these people died. And this verse is the verse that describes their death. And just to remind you what the verse was, under or in place of their honor is kindling fire, burning fire. So we have a three-way argument.
Like jealousy.
Let's hear it. Three-way argument in how do we explain this verse and what exactly was their punishment. A three-way argument. The first one comes from Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, we already learned about this earlier, and that's why how it connects to this Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan says that a person's honor is his
Clothing.
clothing. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, under their tachas means under their honor, which means under their clothing, burnt a fire, which means they were all punished. The way they died was that their bodies burnt in a miraculous way, that their clothing remained intact. So you would seeing there laying down 185,000 dead bodies with the clothing on, with their suits, with their weapon, everything. But you look inside their skin and their bodies burnt black.
So they're cooked from the inside out.
From the inside out. Yeah. That's Rabbi Yochanan. The next opinion, because Rabbi Yochanan says that honor is clothing, and he's translating the word tachas as under their honor, under their clothing. Rabbi Elazar, again, not Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Elazar says that tachas doesn't mean under, it means in exchange. So in exchange of their clothing, there was a burning fire. Now, what does that mean? According to this Rabbi Elazar, the second interpretation, he also says that their bodies burnt and their clothing stayed intact. However, he's not coming from he doesn't learn that from the word tachas being under. He says tachas means in place, and kvodo does not, sorry, Rabbi Elazar does not say kvodo means clothing. He says kvodo means the person's body himself. So the fire was under, in place of their bodies. So they had bodies. In place of their body, there was fire, which means that the bodies got burnt.
Oh, so their birthday suit.
Yeah, but their clothing also stayed intact, according to Rabbi Elazar. The third opinion is from Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani. Shmuel bar Nachmani says that they died without their body being burnt, but there was a fire. How do you get to this? How do you get this answer? So there's another story that happened many, many years earlier. This happened when the Jews were in the desert.
Oh, it's like I'm so happy to see that I'm not the only.
It's still good. Yeah, but now you're here, so now we can start.
Let's go. Let's do that.
What we got? See, we got drinks.
I'm gonna have some drinks because it's cold outside.
Yeah, have some breakfast too. And some hamantash.
Yesterday was so beautiful weather, and today is so
back
crazy.
to the snow.
Now we get the stuff for you. Go ahead. Eat.
Okay, let me get the cup. Cup is right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so this story happened in the time when the Jews were in the desert.
There's nothing in the fridge.
But the same.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So this story happens when the Jews were in the desert. They're in the desert, and they had just built the tabernacle, the Mishkan, a house for God, a temporary house for God in the desert. And this is a very exciting moment. This is a moment that they've been waiting for. They built the tabernacle. This week's story portion actually talks about the actual building of it.
That's happened after when the water came
After
out
the
and
gold-
everything.
yes.
So no enemies.
So after the sin of the golden calf, the Jews felt so bad, and they felt they needed something to show that God needs to show them that He loves them and He's forgiven them. So when God's glory came down to this physical world, this manifesting, this was such a beautiful, awesome moment that the Jews were just like, "Wow, we finally got our forgiveness." So at that point, there was Aaron, the high priest.
Not me.
Aaron, the high priest, and his 4 sons, they were the Kohanim. So Aaron was the high priest, and then his 4 sons, they were going to be the representatives of the whole Jewish nation, because there was no other Kohanim yet. And they're going to do all the rites in the Mishkan. So everyone's getting all ready, everyone's watching. The God's glory was so strong and so intense and so loving and so powerful and so awesome that 2 of Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, they felt the closeness and their yearning of their soul to just unite completely with God, that they literally, and they knew that the highest intense place where they could have this feeling of God's being completely united with God is in the Holy of Holies. In the tabernacle itself, in the Mishkan, there's the back room, where that's God's bed, as if God's bedroom. That's the private space of God. And they just took a pan of incense of the Ketores, and they went into the Holy of Holies. You're only allowed to go there once a year. And even then, only the high priest is able to go. And they went there unauthorized. Why? Weren't bad people. They just felt the longing of their souls, just felt the intensity of godliness so strong that it led them there. And the verse says that a fire came out from God and burnt them. Almost all commentaries are on agreement that their bodies didn't actually get burnt, because it says they removed their bodies. And what did get burnt? Their neshama, their soul, got burnt. So when it says a fire came from Hashem and burnt them, it means that their neshama expired. It burnt their inside, burnt their neshama.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a little.
So it's called Sreifas Neshama V'Guf Kayim. So Rabbi Elazar says, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani, says, we were saying the story of Yaakov, welcome. We were saying the story before of Sancheiriv. Sancheiriv came with his mighty thousands of soldiers, and they besieged Jerusalem. And the king Chizkiyahu would pray to God. It was the night of Pesach, and an angel of Hashem came and killed all of them. How did they all die? So the verse describes it as a fire under God's honor. We had different opinions what that means. The opinion that we're saying now from Shmuel Bar Nachmani means that their inside got burnt. The fire that was burning, that killed them, was inside their soul. So their bodies were actually completely intact, and their clothing. So we had one opinion says that their clothing was intact, but their bodies were burnt. Another opinion says that their bodies were also full. So when the Jews woke up the next morning, they looked out the walls, outside the walls, 185,000 soldiers just laying there, dead. And Sancheiriv himself escaped, went back to Asher, and eventually he was killed by his own sons. And that was the end of them. And that was another one of those empires that tried to knock us down and disappear.
This sounds familiar, Rabbi.
This is nonstop.
Like Big Bad, decides to kill us. Something happens to him. All of his troops, get wiped out, and then he manages to crawl back to whatever hole he.
Well, this time in Iran, they did it the other way around. This time, first they got the guy, first they got the leader, and then they got 2 weeks ago. Oh, today's Iran. Yeah, today's Iran. He said usually they kill all the people and the main guy runs away. So this time they got the main guy first. Make sure no one runs away.
Game is change.
Right. Okay, let's move on. So we mentioned in this discussion about clothing being one's honor. Person goes out according to what he's going to wear. That's how you know. You see you wearing a hoodie, you're a gangster. You're wearing a Hasidic vibes only. Yeah. You're a Hasidic master. You wear a jacket.
Nice to meet you.
And a jacket. You're a rabbi. You wear some fancy turban. You're some Muslim. According to what you wear, that's your honor, right? So Amar Rav Acha Bar Abba. Where do we know that the Torah mandates that a person dresses for the occasion? You hear this? Where do we see in the Torah that you're supposed to change your clothing when it's appropriate to change your clothing? Person says, I'm comfortable with what I wear. What's the name of that senator? That wears his hoodie.
But I have nothing good to say about our Congress people.
No, there's like a senator that wears his hoodie. What's his name? We spoke about
Fetterman.
Right?
The shorts.
The shorts. He comes to the Senate with his shorts, right?
Yeah, but he has brain damage.
Okay, so he comes and he says
and he's in the Senate.
Yeah.
Like
he's too
Where we're living, man.
Yeah.
We're living in great
Pennsylvania. So he says, why should I change my clothing? I'm comfortable with this. Well, he doesn't. He never learned this Gemara. The Gemara says here, Minayin, where do we know that you have to change your garments according to what's befitting to what you're about to do? There's a verse in the Torah. What does it say? It says one of the jobs, a dirty job in the Mishkan, a literally dirty job, no pun intended. A dirty job in the Mishkan was to remove the ashes from the altar. When you burn the sacrifices on the altar, so it becomes a pile of ashes. Okay. Eventually, the ashes get in the way. You can't burn anymore. You got to remove the ashes. So it was a right. It was a job. A Kohen had to come, and he had to remove the ashes. And he had to bring it outside the camp. He had to bring it mechutz lamachane, outside the Jerusalem walls. You had to bring it outside. That job of removing the ashes, the Torah says you got to take off your clothing and put different clothing when you do that job. Why? Because you're going to be getting you're going to be doing now a dirty job. Don't wear the regular clothing that you wear when you're serving God in the temple, the beautiful white fancy clothing. Don't wear that clothing when you're going to do this job of removing. It's called l'chaim, removing the ashes. What do we learn from here? We see this concept of when you're doing a type of job that requires a different type of clothing, you have to do it. When you're going to synagogue, Shabbos, you wear nicer clothing than on the weekday.
But we have an example for that. When the Kohen, the high priest, would go to perform the services once a year, he would also put on special clothing to appear before God.
That's right. So you have another proof. Thank you, Eliezer. Yeah, you're bringing another proof. So, and Rabbi Shmuel says we learn over here derech eretz. We learn over here derech eretz, proper conduct. What's a derech eretz we learn over here? It's just an expression. I think it's a very powerful lesson. Begadim shebishel behen keder Rabbi. When a person has a master, slave has a master, and one of his jobs is he has to cook food. So he goes into the kitchen and he's cooking, preparing supper. And then a couple of minutes later, he has another job. He has to serve the food to his master. Don't serve the food to your master with the same clothing that you use to cook the food. Don't use the same clothing. It's not respectful. You're wearing your apron and it's full of all your ketchup stains and your oil splashes and everything. Don't wear that clothing when you're going to serve the king.
Yeah, it's disrespectful to come into the kitchen or wherever you eat,
right,
with the apron on.
That's right. Even though it looks cool, hey, you're basically letting everyone know I'm the chef and I cooked all this food.
No, but people are gonna make fun of you.
That's right.
I think you got more of it on you than in you.
Anyways, you remember Nachshon?
Nachshon?
Max.
No.
So the last Shabbos before
Nachshon, he's the one who brings us on the synagogue.
Right.
Yeah.
So the last Shabbos before he passed away, Shabbos by day, I spoke to him Friday afternoon. He came here to settle some debts, which is amazing in itself. He had some debts to pay. He paid off right before Shabbos. And then he was here Friday afternoon, and then he didn't come Friday night. And then Shabbos day he came, which didn't usually come. Came Shabbos day, he was here the whole day. Sat here by the Kiddush, he's talked and talked. So by the Kiddush, I asked him, how come you don't come Friday night ever? I never saw him on Friday night. I was like, how come you never came? I saw you Friday, like you're around. How come you didn't come? And he told me, you know why I can't come Friday? He says, because I feel like I don't have enough time to get dressed. I want to get dressed for Shabbos. I said, listen, come anyways, come. He's like, no, I can't come to shul just like that. I got to get dressed. This is what we're learning now. When you come to shul, you have to be dressed respectfully. I don't know if you shouldn't come to shul because of that.
Rabbi, we pray in the barn.
Same history I had with him. He calling me. He's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm in my friend's house." And there was some holiday. It's daytime.
Oh, you know whose debt he was paying? Your brother's.
What?
He was paying. He came to pay Shlomo's debt of this rate. It's funny.
So, and I'm like, I'm in the shorts. I cannot come in the synagogue with the shorts. And he's like, give me the address. Where are you? I'm like, I'm here and here. Okay. After half hour, he's calling me. He's like, come downstairs. I'm like, bro, I told you I'm in a short. He's like, no, don't worry. He went to his house, grabbed the jeans,
Wow.
and bring it to me to bring me to the synagogue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had the same story, almost same story.
Yeah. So let's go. Rabbi Shkia said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Genayu l'talmid chacham sheyetze b'min olim hamutulayim lashuk. It's a disgrace for a Talmud scholar, rabbi, or anyone that learns Torah, to go out to the marketplace with patched shoes that have patches on them.
Oh, yeah.
Like ripped shoes that have to be fixed. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. Rabbi Acha, the famous Rabbi Acha, the son of Chanina, he did wear such shoes. He's a great scholar. He wore patched shoes. How could it be? So, or some people say Rabbi himself went with patched shoes. So the Gemara answers, it depends how many patches. If it has patched after patch after patch, which means they had a hole, you fixed it, then another hole, you fixed it again.
Oh, so it's holy.
Very holy shoes. Then it's a disgrace. But one patch, one layer of patches, I guess that's normal. That's like you wear taps, right?
Yeah.
What does taps do? It extends your sole, life of your soul. You have some jokes about souls. Taps extends your soul.
Yeah.
So you can make a joke about that.
Yeah, more of a heel.
What? It extends your heel. What's this? The heel of the soul.
Right.
So it heals your soul.
We'll discuss it after.
So you one layer of patches is okay, but if it's patches upon patches, then it's a disgrace to go. So if you see any scholars going around with patches upon patches, give him a couple of dollars to buy himself a new pair of shoes. So on the subject of Talmudic scholars' dress and conduct of dress, so we're going to speak a little bit more about what's called respectful clothing. Another thing from Mechir Barabba, any Talmud Chacham, any Torah scholar that goes out with a revav, with a stain on his clothing, chayav misa, he's deserving of death penalty. Why?
With
Because
the stain on his clothing.
Stain on his clothing.
That's embarrassing.
Exactly. That's what it's embarrassing. But since he's a Torah scholar, he's representing God, representing Torah. You can't embarrass. The verse says, "All those that cause people to hate me should die." And if a Torah scholar goes out in disrespectful clothing, he causes other people to say, "This is Torah. This is scholars." Disgrace. It's a chilul Hashem. It's profaning God's name, and such a person is liable to death. There's a Hasidic saying about this, like an unofficial Hasidic saying about this line. This is not for publicity, inside only, because in Chabad, the Hasidim, they were very not particular in how they dress. And you wear whatever you wear. They had some Hasidim, some righteous Hasidim of back of the day. They couldn't get their buttons in the right holes, this and that. I'll tell you a story about that soon. And so, what are they going to say with this Gemara? Or how do they explain this? This Gemara says you can't go with any stains. These guys are wearing all the same clothing for who knows how long. They're wearing the same. So there's a Hasidic, unofficial Hasidic saying.
This used to be white.
There's an unofficial Hasidic saying. It says any Torah scholar that goes with a stain on his clothing is chayav. So he only goes with one stain, then he's liable to death. Meaning, you're expected to have many stains on your clothing. You only have one stain. One stain, you're liable for the death penalty. That's again, it's an unofficial. It's like a joke. And it's not a real. There was in Lubavitch, back in Lubavitch, original Lubavitch shtetl. There was a chassid. His name was Michal Berliner. Michal from Berliner. Yeah, I don't know, right, but. And he was called Michal the Alter. He had a name. He was a very, very, very pious person, but he was very not into what he was wearing. So one time there was this Michal the Alter needed to meet with some government official in Petersburg.
Yeah.
And he didn't know anybody over there. So there was another chassid. His name was Michal. His name was Michal something. And he had a lot of connections with the government people. He had a lot of friends, colleagues. So he asked him, could you take me to Petersburg to meet with this official? So he said, sure, I'll take you. So they traveled from Lubavitch, and they went to travel to Petersburg. And when they're getting closer to the city, Michal tells Michal, the more elegant chassid tells the other one, listen, we're going now to a big city. People are very particular how they dress over here. Maybe you could put the buttons in at least button your jacket that it's in the right hole.
It was like that, yeah, back in the days.
Put it in the right holes, And then he's like, "What? Michel, what's next to? What are you thinking about? Clothing? What in the holes?" Even
I'm
for
here for
that,
my business.
even for something for that, he's like, "What are you thinking about clothing? Who cares about that?"
Yeah.
But in modern days, if you're not Lubavitch, if you're a Litvish, then you have to go respected. They make sure you're wearing a tie. And you make sure you go to school. You have to be presented. You know,
Nobody
you can
wears
tell.
a tie.
You walk around Flatbush, you can see right away who's a Rebbe.
Yeah, but nobody wears a tie anymore.
Rebbe's.
You see people with
What?
ties.
You
You
should.
see like with the open collar.
No, why?
They only wear like
civilian Jews.
on the
Civilian-
No, I'm just saying amongst the Litvish, amongst the Lubavitch, you're not going to see any ties.
yeah, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Listen, my mother,
Just the
my
white
grandmother,
short and
my grandmother worked for yeshiva.
Hmm.
Okay, she worked in the lunchroom. Okay, so those guys, had stained clothing even before they ate lunch. Okay, okay, you didn't need to worry about who had what stains because everybody had stains.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing from Mechir Bar Abba Neiman Rabbi Yochanan. This is a verse again going back to the prophet Isaiah, Yeshaya. It says, "Kasher halach avdi Yeshayahu oraim v'yachiv." It says, "My servant Isaiah has been walking. He's gone naked and barefoot." Now, obviously, it doesn't mean he went naked and barefoot. That's obviously not the meaning. Obviously, no, right, we can't do that. That obviously is not. That's not what it means. So what the Gemara explains what it means is arem, which means he went around with stained, worn out clothing, and barefoot means he went with shoes with patches. Which means normally we said you're not supposed to do it, but that the prophet Isaiah was punished, or he's told by God to do it, to take off his after he finished praying. Basically Hashem is saying how he prayed for the salvation that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
So in order to pray, that's how he dressed. So it doesn't mean naked and barefoot, it means with patched clothing. Okay, let's go on a little more. Almost finished this chapter. There's a term called banoim. Banoim means builders. Says Rabbi Yochanan, who are these builders? Elu Talmidei Chachamim. Torah scholars are called builders. Why are Torah scholars called with the name builders? What are they building? What are they busy doing? They're upbuilding the world all their days because you are built. They hold up the world. The world is existing through the power of the Torah, and because they are the ones studying Torah day and night, they're the ones that are building. Right? Imagine if you had a building that's about to fall, and you had people that are in charge of making sure it doesn't fall. You called them builders, even though the building's already built. So the Torah scholars are called builders because they're upbuilding or building up, holding up the world from staying built. I mean, I guess especially according to what Chassidus says that Hashem is constantly rebuilding the world. So during their Torah, they're actually rebuilding the world every single second. Okay. There's a Gemara. There's a little bit of background for this last piece. We have a little more actually. If someone loses something, there's a mitzvah called Hashavas Aveda, returning a lost object. However, not everyone knows that returning a lost objects is also a responsibility that you have to be careful. When you pick up an object off the floor, you are obligated to give it back to the rightful owner, not to the first person that comes to claim it. If you give it to the wrong owner with a fault of your own, which means you could have figured out, you give it to the wrong, you're considered a thief. Okay? So you have to be careful. How do you know who's the right owner? Before you give it back, you have to ask for a siman, for a sign. The person has to prove to you that this is him. For example, if it's a phone, he has to show you, he'll tell you in advance what's on the phone, what's the number, what's the code, fingerprint has to match. Then you give it back to him. Just for someone saying, I actually once heard somebody made a trick. He found the phone on the floor, but he didn't want to steal it. He wanted someone else to steal it for him. So what did he do? He didn't pick it up, but he went to stand.
But how you stealing if it's on the floor and nobody is the owner?
He found it. He saw a phone on the floor. He was about to pick it up to steal it for himself, but then he decided, I don't want to steal it. I don't want to be a thief. Let someone else be the thief. What do? This guy. He went on the side and he waited a minute and he watched. Someone else came and picked it up. And he sees someone looking at it. He comes out from where he was. Oh, did anyone see your phone? Oh, there. And the guy's like, oh, yours here. And the guy hands it to him. What did he do? What did the guy do? He had the guy that picked it up is now the thief. And he gave it to him.
Legal way.
Legally. He's not the legal thief. Yiddish cup. Jewish.
Jewish, yeah.
It's a problem because the person that picked it up was not allowed to give it to him. Even if he said, oh, it's mine. No, you're not allowed. You pick it up. Now you have the legal right and obligation to give it to the right owner.
Yeah, but how I know that guy is the right owner?
You have to ask for a sign. You have to ask for a sign.
On the
Like,
phone,
is this $10 yours?
Oh, so certain things don't have.
No, on the phone there is a different two things. You can ask, let's say, a password or
Right.
a picture or something, and
A
you can
thumbprint.
prove it
Right.
that's
Right.
yours. But $10, how you
You're
gonna
right.
prove
It's
it?
true. Money doesn't have a simon. It says in Gemara. If you
Yeah.
find money, you're allowed to keep it.
You can't.
No, if you find $10, if you find $10 on the phone on the floor, you're allowed to keep it. There's no
okay.
money doesn't have a sign unless it's like a collection of money, like a pile of coins or something like that. Then, but regular money doesn't have a sign. You're allowed to keep it.
That's, you see.
Now, if you find a certain keli, let's say you find a dish, glass dish, and you look around and you can't tell that any sign. There's no marking.
It says made in China.
Right, but you can't like see anything specific. Are you allowed to keep it?
Usually the people they say take whoever need it on the street.
True. Okay.
Usually,
yeah, but if it's something that looks like that somebody lost it, but you don't know how you're gonna get it back to the right owner because the guy can't give you a sign. So the rule is that if the person that comes and tells you that it's his is a Torah scholar, he looks at it and he says, "I recognize this is mine." How does he recognize? Because you could recognize your things. You can't describe them to someone else. But when you look at something that's yours that you had it for a long time, I had a scratch over here. Yeah, I remember I had a bump over here.
Exactly.
Now, if you didn't see it right now, you're not going to be able to tell someone all those things. It's called tvi in Hebrew. It's called tvias ayin. You recognize it, but you can't point and say this is what it is. Now, a regular person could lie and say, "Yeah, I recognize it." We don't trust him. But if he's a Torah scholar, then we trust him and you give it back. How do you know who's a Torah scholar? What's the definition of a Torah scholar? So the Gemara brings a few different definitions. One of them is that he always says the truth and he's honest. And over here he says, what's considered a Torah scholar? That you have to return a lost object to him. One of the things that defines a Torah scholar is whenever his clothing are inside out, he turns it back the right way. He makes sure to always make sure his clothing are the right way. There's other things, but this is one of those things that defines a Torah scholar. His clothing should not be worn inside out. Also being knowledgeable in Talmud and being able to answer questions that you have wherever you may be learning. And we're going to stop over here. So these are not only for Torah scholars, these lessons are also for us. May learning be in the memory of your father.
Actually, yeah.
What's his name?
I'm gonna send you the picture. I make a mistake. So my father's ear